It's a great
Yes.
question.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Down here, we have a script tag where we're pulling down a lot of the Bootstrap JavaScript from a CDN, also minified, as you can see. A lot of the Bootstrap components, anything that has, well, with CSS these days, it can do a lot more without JavaScript, but anything that has any sort of animation like collapsing and nav, and certainly the carousel probably involves some JavaScript. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to quickly exit and restart Visual Studio Code as I had to install the live server application. And now that should be installed. Yep. And now I should be able to start this up. So, and we don't want this in Safari. Give me a moment to move this into Chrome. Okay. I'm going to do a quick test to make sure that the live server works. All right, Raphael, I think we're ready to go.
All right. So let's go back to your HTML. So first of all, we're definitely going to need some of our own styles. Maybe not right away, but before I forget, let's create a main.css file and then add a link tag for that.
Sounds good. And give me one moment. I need to just position. I'm on one monitor today, so I just need to position the zoom out of the way. And you were saying, was there another file you wanted to create?
I think that's all for now. So you all may note that we are linking our personal styles after the Bootstrap styles, so that if there are any conflicting styles with equal specificity, ours will take priority.
That's correct.
Cool. So that looks good.
Cool.
But for starters, I think we're just going to write some HTML and use the Bootstrap class as much as possible and see how far we can get with that.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, see, I've got the Magic website up in front of me. So first thing I'm noticing is that the background is the full width. So I think we're going to want a container fluid to kind of contain everything, then put some more stuff inside of it. So we can set like a background color or background image for the container fluid. And that can span the whole background. All right, so inside of that, first thing we should add probably is the Nav Bar. So why don't we go to the Bootstrap docs and see if we can find a Nav Bar that's kind of close to what we want. You're on the Bootstrap 4 docs here.
Oh, thank you. That's a critical.
Can you just go back, actually? I think just find a different link from Google. Yeah, this is still Bootstrap 4. What is up with them? Sure, why not? Cool. So yeah, it should be in the components side menu.
Yep. And let me latest 5.1.x.
Cool.
Okay, awesome.
We're good.
And while I'm doing this, Dalton, I see you have a question.
Yeah, I was just trying to read.
Nav
So-
Bar is the component you want. Sorry.
Thank you.
So is this Like, I just don't get what is the purpose of the container fluid? It just says provides a full width container which spans the entire width of the viewport. Wouldn't have that been happening either way, or is there something I'm missing?
So that's a really good question. I'm not actually sure what I'm going to use this container fluid for. In theory, I could just set background color on the body, but I don't really want to do that for no specific reason. I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to mess with the body too much.
Oh, so it's kind of like almost creating like a second background, maybe, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's on
Okay.
top of the body, so you're not going to
Yeah.
see the body's background.
Okay.
But yeah, I like having my own element that I'm going to style however I want.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely possible that we don't need it. I'm not sure, but it makes me feel comfortable starting out with it. All right, so let's look some nav bars. I know there was a request to get a nav bar with a drop-down menu in it. So there's a few options like that. I mean, that first one probably fits the bill, but maybe we'll see a couple others. If there's anything that looks even better. Now this is getting further away. That one doesn't have a drop-down in it.
Should we just grab that first one?
Yeah, let's do it.
And you want me to get rid of my hello world and the title for the page?
Please.
All right. So let me paste this stuff in. Get rid of hello world. Oh, I don't have a title for the page, which is fine. We don't really need a title. And everyone can see this text, okay? And I'm just going to go back over here. Okay, awesome. So we just literally copied and pasted that Bootstrap Nav Bar code, and I won't navigate back, but if you go to like the very first page of the Bootstrap docs, that's what I copied and pasted to get my boilerplate with the link tag and the script tag for the Bootstrap, the CDN to get the Bootstrap CSS and JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
So we're moving forward.
Cool.
And this Nav Bar, it might work without the JavaScript, but as soon as I start messing with Bootstrap components, I would want to include JavaScript just to be safe.
I'm pretty sure the drop-down menu requires JavaScript.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So we got a whole lot of work just got done here, but it's not exactly what we want. Gonna have to make a few changes. So the first thing I noticed that was kind of out of place was that our nav bar is the full width of the screen. Now we want the container to be the full width, but in the Magic website, the nav bar is a little bit more centered than that.
And actually, what's the URL for that Magic site? Because then I can
get Magic. Yeah, getmagic.com.
right. That totally makes sense with what you're saying.
Wait, did I just make that up? Is your browser more narrow than mine?
I'm on full screen mode. I don't know if that makes a difference. I think we should follow your browser should be the source of truth.
Huh. Yeah, when I'm looking at the site,
let's see.
Looks like there's a little more margins on the side, or maybe I'm just not getting your full screen.
Are you at a breakpoint? Like, did you just pass a breakpoint somehow?
Are you just using a tiny computer?
Am I?
Oh. Oh, it's fluid.
Well, at any rate, so let's compare this to what we've got. Yeah, let's use a container here, make it a little bit more centered. So let's go to our HTML and then either put a container around the nav bar or the nav bar around a container. One of those is going to do this, I think.
And a non-fluid container.
Correct. We want a rigid, solid container.
Yeah. Oh, I was hoping I could get fancy.
Yeah, the code folding in VS Code is kind of weird. It like sometimes unfolds things when you don't want it to.
Looks like it may have actually included a div here.
I'm not sure if it did. Yeah, I think you need to indent one level.
Yeah, and I apologize because, like I said, I'm on my non-work machine, so I don't quite have.
You
Like
need to
normally I have it
close
set with
the
the format on save. Sorry.
and a closing div at the bottom. That's an opening div you got there.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just a little slash there. Cool. So let's see that in your browser. Okay, much better.
I see. Yeah, we've got that space there now.
Yeah, but so now we're kind of noticing just the awkward background of our nav bar. It's got that gray background, but on the Magic website, the background of the nav bar is actually transparent.
Okay.
So let's inspect our nav bar and see where that background color is coming from.
Let's see here.
Excuse me. Is it inherited from something? What is this?
No, let's look at.
Can you remind me? I'm trying to look through it. Did you just grab the very first Nav Bar example?
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, the one that doesn't have an example or anything. It's just, this is the Nav Bar.
Yeah,
Just
Okay.
pasted the code in.
yeah. And so what I'm doing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, can you inspect a different element? So let's go up to some parents, maybe just the nav.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't need to do that. Background color.
Yeah, but let's look at the styles tab in particular. Okay, so here we can see that the nav has the class .bglight that is applying a background color. So in our style sheet, let's write some styles for .bglight that overwrites the background color to something else.
Sounds good.
So we don't actually want it to be colored at all. We want it to be transparent. So let's use Rgba. Those of you who don't know, Rgba is red, green, blue, alpha. The alpha channel in an image is the transparency or whatever they call it. Basically, you get a fourth number that is how transparent or opaque do you want this thing to be. So we'll set it to 0. I think it's between 0 and 1 is the range. So we'll set it to 0 to make it totally invisible.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
if you don't add that last number, is it default 1?
I don't know what happens.
Okay, just curious.
It's a good question. It looks like it does something along those lines. Because that and that are similar.
All right, so let's see this in the browser.
Looks like we still have a bit of a background.
Yeah, what's going
It's
on?
also
Is it,
Nav Bar -light. I don't know if that's doing it. Or if that's the text color.
You know,
okay, hold on.
What
So
about-
our style is being overridden. So look at the styles tab again. So our BG light is being applied and overridden by the Bootstrap one. I'm not sure why that would be. Our style sheet is after the Bootstrap style sheet, right?
let me double check. It should be. It's possible I did something wrong in this import step. We could do it. Let me confirm
That
that
should
the
be
style is
fine. It looks like
loaded.
it's just a specificity issue.
Yeah. Is it worth looking at the Bootstrap docs to see if they give us a way to modify that color, that background color?
I mean, there are a couple of other classes to change it to different colors. But I think our answer is in the inspector here.
Okay.
Could it be a shadow or transparency?
It's a good question.
I mean, there are a couple ways we could do this. I'm just concerned about why our classes aren't, like we wrote, this should be a more specific style. I'm not sure why it's not overriding. Whatever, anyways. Let's just go back to our style sheet and change
Oh,
the
you know, there's
selector.
an importance
Wait, what?
in
What?
in the bootstrap.
Oh my gosh, come on, why are you doing this to me? That's
Here,
really frustrating.
I'll demonstrate. This is not what you should do, but just to see how that works. Is this the way to do it wrong? Or
Oh, you know what? So I should think about this problem a little differently. Let's go back to our index.html. On the nav bar, just take off the class BG Lite. That is how
yeah.
we're supposed to do this.
That's a great call.
Okay, so now let's see what this looks like.
That's the downside of copying code, folks. Now that looks the way we want, I think.
I'm actually not sure if it's correct. I think that's just a white background. And then when we add the other background, we'll see the issue. But whatever, we'll solve that problem when it becomes more apparent.
Yeah, agreed.
So the next thing is we're not actually trying to add a search box. We just wanted a drop down. So let's delete the little search box on the right from our HTML.
Okay. So I'm going to scroll. Actually, what I'll do, I just Command F gives you search, like to search the file. I'm just searching for something that says search.
Searching for search.
Searching for search. Yeah. And it looks like it's here. And I'm double checking that if I get rid of this form tag and its children, this input and this button, that's everything related to the search box. Just, you know, pausing and making sure that I believe I'm deleting everything I should. And everything lines up and looks good. And I don't think there were any dependencies related to the search box we have to get rid of. That's not really a Bootstrap thing. That's like, I'm used to working with like React and stuff where there might be something that we imported that we have to get rid of, and is gone, which is great.
Cool. So next issue with our nav bar is that most of the nav links are supposed to be on the right. The brand image goes on the left, but the links themselves should be on the right.
Okay.
So let's actually look in the inspector for a minute more, because I'm not exactly sure how I want to solve this.
Yeah.
So let's, select. Okay, that's the thing we want to select. That div classic was collapse. Wait, actually, can you, just highlight its parent?
Yeah. It looks like, I'm not sure where this button, let's see what's going on.
That's the hamburger menu. So
That's
you're
the
not going to see
hamburger.
that when you're full screen, right? That's only visible
Right.
at tiny
Thank you.
screens. So let's go to what you were hovering before, that div class equals collapse.
Yep.
So it's already a flex container. So can you try just like adding in on the element.style? I think it's align items flex end. That wasn't quite it.
I see what you're saying. I wonder if there's a margin.
Swear I was testing this out.
It's weird it says flex end. It looks more like flex start.
What's that? Flex. Could it be
Oh, I'm sorry, justify content flex end.
Oh, yeah, that,
Um, can you highlight the container fluid? No, that's not right. So yeah,
so my first thought was just to throw a couple more divs in here so we have a couple columns in our flex container, which might be like the ugly way to do it, but to have like a left, middle, right. But I see, like, yeah, I see what you're saying, because that's like the more flexboxy way to do it, is to make the flexbox do the work.
I'm just like looking at the Bootstrap site and I'm just like in the inspector on their examples and I got it working. So I'm just wondering,
So maybe I may then, okay. So let's go through again what you asked me to do and make sure. So am I putting it on the right element? This one right here?
yeah, that's what I've
Okay.
got.
Justify dash content, flex dash end.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I'm looking at the Bootstrap 4 docs in my browser. So I'm like fiddling with a different version of the Navbar than you are.
That's fine. I've done that so many times. I've lost
Jesus.
at least an hour more than once to looking at the wrong version of the docs.
I mean, yeah, it was the exact same error that we started out this demo with. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a good lesson, folks. Like, it's really good to be persnickety about versions.
sorry. So now I'm opening the Bootstrap 5 docs and looking at the nav bar.
I could start getting rid of properties too. There's an align items.
Oh, wait, can you set align items right?
And you know what? That's probably not the right way for me to do it. Let me refresh the page. Let me make sure I've got the right thing.
Or I guess you can just check what the possible values are. Flex end.
Thank you.
No.
What are your thoughts about, can we use the Bootstrap Grid inside the nav bar?
I mean, yeah.
Do you have thoughts about like
I think
adding?
you guys actually used the wrong syntax for the flex end. If I'm looking at the 5.2 docs, it says justify dash content dash end. Dash end as a class.
As a class.
Oh, that just applies the style. Justify content flex end. It should be the same as what we're doing.
I can, yeah, if you folks, you can also edit HTML directly here.
Yeah, I don't do it either.
No, but that was a good thought, Alicia. Thank you.
You have to have deflex in there in order for that particular statement to work. Because that's a flexbox statement. So
Is it
D dash flex.
Space.
This guy already has display flex on.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can see it on the right.
Has it? Oh, okay. That's odd then because it's supposed, okay.
Should we look at the CSS tricks article?
Yeah, I've got it open right now. I have to double
Oh, you do?
check.
Okay, cool.
It's really important that they have, I mean, it's really annoying that they have all these important tags in there. Like it makes it hard
Yeah,
to adjust your stuff. Like I see that one on the media query where they have another
so
important one in there.
Raphael, one thought I have is we could get rid of some things. Like we could keep maybe the container that we want to get this working in. I don't know if it really matters. Getting rid of things is just sort of my go-to strategy. Like, maybe it seems unlikely, but maybe there's an important, or maybe something with this UL tag is doing something.
Yeah, can you try to set some styles on that UL?
You know, it's got a big ass margin. Excuse my language.
Yeah, I think that's like derived from something else. So
Okay.
let's check out the flex properties on it, scroll up a little bit on the styles. Can you set flex direction? What are the values of that? Row reverse.
Yeah. Yeah. And folks, it's the fact
Oh
that
my gosh, that's still not.
DevTools lets you try all this stuff out is really good. Yeah, I would suggest, can I jump back to the code for a moment?
Mhm.
Let's see. So we have this container, we have the nav bar, we have container fluid, we have the brand name, we have the button, which is the hamburger button. And then this is what we're trying to work on that isn't doing what we want. And in it, we have like a very large unordered list and a list item. And container fluid. Yeah, it shouldn't make a difference to get rid of this unordered list. That we could also just get rid of this code entirely and just do our own from scratch from a higher level from container fluid here. Like here's container fluid. We could leave nav bar and the button class and get rid of this and add it back in piece by piece to see if we get it to work. That's my one thought.
I might have to tinker with this more than I'm expecting. Why don't we come back to the nav bar? Let's
Okay.
move a little further down the page.
Sure.
Some of the people in the chat said, would it be better to put the class on the UL instead of the div? I don't know if that's correct. I get confused on where to put it, but just an idea.
On the UL instead of the div. I don't think that makes a significant difference, but don't quote me on that. Raphael Michael Lambert also threw in a horizontal stack, an H stack link that does do what we want. I'm not 100% how that behaves within a nav bar, but we could try that out.
I mean, is it right aligned? That's all we're trying to get here. Let's have it be right aligned.
Yes, like if you look at the link he shared and you scroll down a bit to like the second to last one with an inline form, it's well, I'm not sure if it right aligns, but it is horizontal. Not sure about right align. Bootstrap 5, nav bar, right. All uses of left and right have been replaced with start and end, Bootstrap 5. MR to MS.
Not sure if this is what we want.
I'm not either, though it does, the name of the question was pretty close. Let me, I want to take a quick crack at this. And this would line up, and someone was saying, do we have to do stuff here with Michael Lambert, what are you saying to set on the UL?
MS.
At MS Auto.
Looks like they have ME auto, which is margin end auto, and it has an important line.
So
on
I built a Nav Bar last night, and that was the walkthrough I was using. So setting it to MS Auto on that unordered list, all your list items then push to the right. But like in the example that it's showing on the stacks page for horizontal, you know, if say you didn't want to push all the items in the list to the right, you could just set it on like the one you wanted to start pushing to the right. And then everyone after that would push to the right as well. It's weird the way it works, but it does.
Say that one more time, please. I know it's asking a lot because you've got COVID. For what it's worth, Raphael, adding MS Auto definitely does something here.
So what happens if you get rid of the ME auto? Because I would think that those would just be opposite things. Margin end, margin start auto.
Wow. Amazing.
Good call, Alicia. I didn't notice that. Yeah, and Michael, thank you. I'm rustier on Bootstrap than I thought. This is also the Nav Bar. So just to share a perspective, you get so much with the Bootstrap Nav Bar, but notice how we could have built our own crappy Nav Bar using Bootstrap Grid in this amount of time. It wouldn't have been fully responsive, you know, across like tablets and mobile. It wouldn't have had the hamburger menu. And there would probably be other things we're missing from it, but we could have done it. And for this like desktop full screen case, it would have worked. And in this specific instance, I think we're doing the right thing using the Nav Bar component. However, so many times you will encounter a situation where it looks like, oh, using this library should do what I want. But then it turns out that because the version has changed or something else or unexpected complexity, that using the library is not nearly as easy as it seems. And there's a lot of value to building your own because then you know exactly how it works. And that's like, I think one of the constant questions that comes up as a developer, do I build my own or do I use a library? And again, I think especially for learning purposes and to get this working right, like it makes sense to use the Nav Bar, but I just wanted to share that because I've been down this road on both sides many times.
Yeah, generally, I think the correct decision is to use a library instead of make your own, but I've definitely found exceptions to that in my career.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would lean a bit more. It depends. The right answer, because there are certain, like crypto, you never want to roll your own. I lean more now towards building my own, but it's also, it depends so much on what you need to do. And like, as you folks can tell, like between Zainab and Raphael and myself, we've had like a wide variety of work experiences. So like so much is informed by what kinds of problems have you had to solve in the past.
And so speaking of solving problems in the past, I swear I know how to use Bootstrap. I've spent years using Bootstrap 4.
Yeah.
And I guess in Bootstrap 5, they changed some of the classes and how they work and whatnot, which is fine. You just need to inspect things in the inspector to see what's applying styles to what. And so it seems like in this case, just the Nav Bar that we pasted in here already had some of these like MS Auto classes on it.
Yeah,
which are enforcing the spacing using like margin left or margin right and auto.
yeah,
So I think that was conflicting with my efforts to use Flexbox in here.
So I know this is adding for an extra step, but like it would really help my understanding. If you got rid of that MS auto and then tried the justify content end, is that what would make it work then? So was the important on the MS auto not allowing you to do the, because that's exactly what I would have tried was justify content and just like you guys were doing.
I don't know, Adam, you want to try just in the inspector there, just deleting the MS Auto class?
yeah. And then let's see, over here, it was on container fluid that we were doing justify content at.
The
No.
child, because the nav bar or
Yeah.
the brand image we want. Yeah,
Oh, look at
that's what I was
that.
trying to do. The
Look at that. That's amazing. I'll also throw in, I keep saying simple stuff is more complicated than you think. And something I've learned, probably in part from having ADHD, is I like to kind of, when I make mistakes, analyze what was the root cause as opposed to maybe like a higher level cause or a symptom. To me, the root cause was, the main thing I think was copying the Navbar code, because we thought we knew what it did, but we were incorrect for a variety of reasons, including the change in version. And if we had not copied that Navbar code, we might have run into other issues, but we would have been forced to build it step by step and probably encountered this early. That's my that's my take. I'm also like the startups I worked at, it was like we had like half day or 1 day deadlines. So I had to like, if I lost an hour of time, that was like a big problem. And that's where a lot of my perspective comes from too.
Sounds like a kind of unpleasant workplace.
It was Reverb. Yeah, there's pluses too. You learn a lot. You know, so it's a mix. Reverb in particular was a weird place, and for a lot of people, they've done really well there, and it's worked out great. A lot of it depends on personality too.
My experience is that unless there's like some kind of urgent production issues, like something's on fire, generally, if you're asked to build something, no one is expecting to see code the same day.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's Reverb was in its high growth phase, like maybe 6 to 8 months after I left. Etsy acquired them, so they were trying to squeeze as much productivity out of engineers as they could to bump up the numbers of, you know, active users so they could get that acquisition and the founder and the VC people could get paid. And Arrive Parkwiz was at the end of its funding and struggling to bump up its numbers and do some other stuff so they could look good to investors to get acquired before they ran out of the last of their money. So it was interesting. Sorry, I'm digressing a little.
yeah, so let's build our website.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think the next thing I want to do is set like a background. So if you look at the magic site, there's this kind of this top section that's got this like bluish purple background image, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get the exact, well, actually, no, you can just copy the image. Yeah.
Oh, it's an image.
Isn't it?
Which part? What should I be looking at?
Is it a parent of that? Parent of a parent?
Yeah, it goes. Let's see.
Or
here,
is
what
it
we
the
got.
body background? I mean, I think what you were saying made sense earlier, that since you set that to transparent.
Oh, what is Elementor background overlay?
There's a whole. There's a lot of.
Okay, that background might be not just one image. That might be something kind of complex. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm having a tricky time just navigating through here because they have so many classes.
At any rate, they, probably got a designer to do this or something. So why don't we just make a CSS gradient that looks
Sounds great.
close enough to this? Well, I mean, it looks like they had a gradient in there. I'm not sure if that's the whole story. You see on the right, background image linear gradient.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
I'm just wondering what we'll see if we copy that into our code.
Let's see. I'm going to create a class just calling it background for the moment.
Background image, I think it was.
So that,
Let's get a semicolon on there.
thank you. It looks like it's fairly transparent.
You just copy that whole block. They have transparent and they have a border radius, opacity, all of that.
The entire overlay, you mean?
Yeah, you could try it. Stick it on
Yeah,
the body. or
it's not a
something.
bad thought. So
I'm not sure if we need
I'm curious if you
all those styles. I just kind of
Yeah.
want to see what the gradient looks like first.
agreed. And I think if we do copy the whole thing, Alicia, we'll do it one step at a time, so we don't run into the same issue that we just had with the Bootstrap, which is good advice. Copying stuff is great, and sometimes you want to just do it a step at a time. Raphael, should I apply that background class
Mhm.
here?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see what that, it doesn't do much. So there is a bit of something.
Wait, can you hover? Can you check it out in your inspector? I think it's just because our container fluid doesn't have enough height.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, so can you just in the element.style set like height is 1,000 pixels?
I think Michael just found it. He linked it in the chat.
Can you throw it into the Zoom chat, Michael?
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh. Can you explain what this is?
Oh, that's just the image. You found it?
Yeah, that's the image that they're using for their background. So it's not an actual gradient, like CSS gradient. It looks like it's just an image that they put on the
An
background.
SVG.
Okay, cool.
Can I, I'm curious what your thoughts are, Raphael. Honestly, my first thought is simply make it, sorry, the browser is set to Safari by default, or the laptop is simply make a purple background. And then if we want, work on applying our own gradient on top of it, or simply leave it plain purple and come back to it later.
I'm down with either of those plans.
Okay.
Although, actually, if we have that link to the SVG, can we just like put that in an IMG tag or as like a background image?
It's a great question. I was wondering too, like, do we have to tile it or something to cover the whole screen? Because it's not. Where did you find that, Michael, on the page?
So it was right. So in the HTML, it was actually right above.
I see.
It was like a section that had, so the div class, the Elementor background overlay, was underneath the section that actually had the image.
I see. Okay, I made a bad assumption. So it looks, and I think, I see. Okay, I misunderstood what was going on. So we see here, we scroll down, it transitions to white. And the reason is because they use this image for just the top half of the page. The term I've heard for describing this, like when you load a web page and it's whatever you see without having to scroll down is above the fold. Like the top, like if you have a newspaper folding in half, that's the term, I think, above the fold. So people talk about that a lot.
I think this came up the other day.
Yeah, Raphael, you're totally right. and I apologize, I thought we had to tile it because the whole thing was purple. I could use a little guidance on how to set that up in here. I can Google too if we need to.
So let's see, for the background class, let's go to your styles.css. So it's got background image, and then can you type a URL and then put in the URL of the image? So for background image, the value is URL, and it's a function.
Got
So
it.
instead
Oh,
of the
yeah,
function linear gradient, it's the function URL.
got it. That.
Yeah, like that. Does that work?
Let's see. I think we're gonna get it. Look at
Amazing.
that. It's awesome.
Okay, so where did our Nav bar go though? That's my next question.
Right.
Oh, it's just
Maybe-
colors. Okay, yeah, it's there.
Oh yeah. And there's how do they?
It's all white.
Okay. Change some font and stuff.
Yep, yep.
Okay, awesome. Let me see. So I think, do we have BG Light? Where do we use BG Light here? So we're not using that. So maybe what we should do, Raphael, would it make sense to add a Nav Bar styles class of our own and apply it maybe like right here or something for setting fonts within the Nav Bar?
I might create a class just for the text color, just like light text or something like that. And then we can apply it to anything that has light text.
Sounds good. And I think we can get rid of BG Light because I don't think we're using that.
Yeah, we
Okay,
don't need that. That was our misguided earlier attempt.
yeah, no worries.
It's just color.
Yeah, thank you. Color. Let's just do white smoke.
Ooh, fancy.
Actually, I'll just do white even so it's just super clear. Should
I
we
kind of like
bump?
eggshell.
You got it.
I don't think this color actually looks good, but I use it a lot for some reason.
It isn't giving me an autocomplete for eggshell.
I swear it's a real color. And
Should
let's
we?
rename the class too, maybe like text light. Because
Thank you. Oh yeah.
you might have a couple different color classes.
You want me to bump up like the width or intensity of the font or anything like that?
Oh yeah, maybe like font weight bold or something.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what that looks like.
And then apply it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Text light. Yeah, and that's a great call to make like sort of a utility CSS class that we can use in a bunch of different places. Interesting.
So let's inspect it.
Yeah.
See why our class is not being applied.
What did
Why
I?
our styles are not being applied.
Yeah. What did I do wrong? Let's see here.
So what element did we apply those to? That's on the nav bar.
Right here.
Oh, what? I swear to God. Or was it?
Can you get rid of Nav Bar Light?
Nav bar light.
Or no, hold on, ghost white, I think is the color.
Let's do this. Let me go over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to comment just all this stuff out just to, how do we, what the heck is a CSS comment?
I can never remember. Can you just command slash?
Thank you. And then let's go back here. Get it back to a good state. This is also Like I should probably start using Git so I don't screw something up and forget what it is and I'm unable to go back, because we had this just a moment ago. And now, unless I'm losing my mind,
Did we ever get the text actually white?
we didn't, but we're not seeing the background image now either.
Oh yeah. What happened to that?
Let's see. I'm gonna use,
Or hold on, let's go back to your inspector.
yeah,
We're not sure why we're not seeing the background image. Let's look at where we think it should be.
okay. It's a good call with the inspector. Should be,
So hover the
It has
background
Background on it,
element.
up to.
thank you.
So yeah, it's that issue before, just the background itself is only like 20 pixels high. Before we had manually set it to like 1,000 pixels. We don't like really need to do that. As we continue developing this page, there will be more content in here, and then that content will stretch this container out.
Of course, thank you. Awesome, okay. So that's good.
So actually then, to get some more content, why don't we like put that big header from Magic on the page, just so we got something taking up space. It says turbocharge your business with Magic Virtual Assistant.
It's a great idea. And in fact, I think I should, do you want the text light?
Yeah,
Okay, and let me fix the class name or the color name. It was ghost white.
yeah. I don't know how I got those mixed up. I guess there are two colors that are like kind of white, but almost, but not quite.
I didn't even know ghost white was a color. I would have gone for eggshell. Okay, awesome. Yeah, how do you want to tackle this guy?
I'm not really too concerned about how they styled it here because it's simple enough. We can figure something out. So I don't know, you want to just put an H1 on the page
Yeah,
and
agreed.
paste the text in there.
Turbocharge your business with Magic Virtual Assistant. And yeah, this Nav Bar.
Yeah, we can just collapse that guy.
Okay, that's the end of the nav. This is let's see how we do. Okay, so we've got it here. It's a little hard to see.
So first of all, we want to be centered. So let's add text line center to the H1. Okay. And then we also want a line break. Because on the main page, this is on 2 lines.
Yeah, with just like a break tag.
That's what I'm thinking.
You
We
want me
could
to
just
make
use
a
2
cl-
H1s also.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a preference?
I think I prefer the break tag because the H1 also comes with a bunch of like margin on the top and bottom. So that would space it out more than we want probably.
Agreed. And should I create a class to style that turbocharge your business?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I'm just going to call it.
You know, it's the main heading. It's probably going to have unique styles.
Yeah. So main heading,
Sure.
and we have text align center. Yeah, I've like that makes me think like I know the term like hero. Not hero component, but something.
I've heard like hero image, I think.
Yeah,
no.
hero image. I think there might even, I've seen like layouts will use that a lot. Okay,
Mhm.
so main heading, text align center.
Maybe like font size 36 pixels or something.
Yeah, so folks, you can also see like, this stuff can just take a while. When you do, like if you're doing this day in and day out, then you get much more familiar with it. But even then, if you switch from HTML to something else, it can take a minute. And I will just use the text light class again.
Why not?
Yeah. So let's do text light. And then we have main heading. Let's see what happens. Awesome.
That looks better.
Now we're getting somewhere. So the text light doesn't seem to be applying here. Someone did mention getting rid of Nav Bar light and seeing if that works. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. I'm
oh my
gonna look
gosh.
at the computed styles.
Look in the styles tab first.
Got it.
So do you see what the issue is, why our color is not being applied?
I do not.
So scroll up a bit.
Yeah.
So we can see the second box there, the class text light is applied to this element. And on the right, we can see it's coming from styles.css, line 5.
Oh, they have a class with the same name.
Yeah, so this is just a coincidence. We didn't know this, but Bootstrap also has defined a class called text light, and it is applying its own color with being important, because the class text light, the whole point is just to apply color. So it uses being important. But that means that we're just gonna have to come up with a different name for our class. So maybe white text or something.
Yep. Yep. Is this where like using sort of I know Bootstrap has like a lot of theming tools. I haven't gone down that road in a minute, but when I need to make the change here. Like, do you recall if Bootstrap gives us a way to make these changes to avoid these sort of conflicts? And I'm just going to do a search to confirm that I've gotten rid of text light. And let's see. So we've still got, so the color's being applied.
Okay, maybe a child is overriding that. So let's go to a child element that's actually closer to what holds our text.
Let's see.
Here,
Here,
does that have color? The UL, LI, A, any of those guys have color set on them?
let me look at the link attribute. So here, navlink. Navlink does have a color set on it.
Okay,
Looks
So
like
yeah.
there's two levels because there's something blue because it's an href.
mhm. Yeah, I've mentioned before that styling links is a little bit trickier. So what if you just replace the value for color there with like white?
Right, right here.
Yeah. Okay, so let's write styles for the navlink class and set the color to what we want it to be.
And I got advice from an old boss to organize stuff alphabetically when it's not clear how things should be organized. And I always thought that was good advice. Color ghost white.
I don't know. I feel like there's often a better way to organize things.
I think they're
Um,
off. Sorry, go ahead.
Like if you do it alphabetically, you'll probably have different things put together just because they're close in the alphabet. So I would probably have like similar components next to each other. Or if you have styles for a child of some parent, I would put that after the parent styles. Also, you just have to bear in mind that if you have multiple selectors with the same specificity, the one that's written afterwards takes priority. So
That's a very
sometimes
good
there are
point.
mechanical reasons why you order your styles in a particular way.
Yeah.
All things being equal, I guess alphabetical order is better than no order.
I totally agree with you about like taking advantage of like when there's a clear structure that we can use to order things. And you're totally right with the CSS file too. It's especially important to make sure that it's, excuse me, in the order we want. His point was interesting for two reasons. Like sometimes stuff gets really big. But the main was, I think he had been in situations where there were like 6 people on a team all arguing about what order they thought the order should be.
Oh,
And he was like, well, with alphabetical, you can't bike shed over it or argue what's best. I think he used it as like a tool for dealing with when there wasn't consensus too.
that's a very good point. Most of the time when I've been writing CSS, it's as a solo developer. So I'm just saying, this organization makes sense to me. No one's going to call me on it. So great. But it was also kind of subjective that was a good organization, but it was my subjective opinion. But for sure, if you're on a team with other people and you just don't want to have the discussion about how to order your styles, because it doesn't really matter that much. Alphabetical order could be a good way to just avoid discussing it further.
Yeah,
Everybody knows what alphabetical order is.
I think he was working with some people who like work software developers. It can be like herding cats sometimes. And I think people had strong opinions about how things should be organized and those opinions conflicted.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
are the is the home button and the disabled button not white because they have active and disabled tags?
that is a good question. It might be, I was just poking around at that.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you can definitely delete the active class in the HTML.
Okay.
That's weird that would prevent it though, because it still has that class. It's weird to me at least.
It's Bootstrap has its own like theming system. Like this is sort of like a CSS variable. And so somewhere there's a way to like manipulate a lot of these things by setting a Bootstrap theme, but that's its own set of work. And to be honest, I haven't worked a ton with Bootstrap themes and tend to try to well, not avoid them. They definitely have their place, but I think that's what's going on here.
Okay, and then also the brand image was dark.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah, because it's not a nav link.
Let's see if this does it. That might, I don't know if you want me to do it that way, but
That wasn't what I had in mind, but I think it's just as good. So let's go with it.
okay, cool. And actually, speaking of Git, oh, that doesn't work. Okay, never mind. I wanted to use Git just in case I make a mistake that we have like a good state to roll back to, but I don't want to fix whatever that issue was right now. This is awesome. We're moving forward though. We got this, maybe adding this content next.
Yep. So let's put that in, just a paragraph or something probably.
Yeah. What do you think about an H2?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm gonna add the main heading class because I think we want that for centering.
Doesn't that also imply font size?
You're right, it does. Here, let me take it out and we can adjust as needed. I think this is organized. Let's see here. Okay, so we do need that centering. Yeah, we need the text align center. I have a couple thoughts. We could throw all of this in a containing div, or I could just create a class for the H2 text.
Oh,
you have a
there's already a
preference?
Bootstrap class, I think, that applies text align center. Can you just try the class text center?
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
I think I'm not making this up.
That makes so much sense. Yep. Should I use that here instead too? No. I'm gonna use it here if that's okay.
That
with
might
you.
be more elegant, but it's probably not a huge deal either way.
It's not. It's I'm being a little extra. Okay, awesome.
So,
Me-
so this is great. One other thing I'm noticing is that the layout's really tight. In the magic
Mhm.
site, there's more space between everything.
Mhm.
So we could just add margin and padding to these elements, but I don't want to do that. I kind of like, for the spacing to be part of the page and not these individual elements.
Yeah.
Because then if I move them around, I might have to change their margins. So let's add just a empty div above the H1.
Okay, and I'm just adding a break that we need for it to
Yep.
empty div above the H1.
And so now we're going to add a class to this guy. Bootstrap provides some utility classes just for spacing. So let's try MT-4. This is margin top level 4. There's like 5 levels of these. So MT-0 is take away all the margins. MT1 is a small margin.
Totally, these are super useful. I'm remembering this now. Like my Bootstrap is starting to come back.
So did that not work?
It did. It just was a little bit. Let me
Can you
inspect it and we can tweak. So it's over here. So
MT is just gonna be margin top. If you want it all the way around, I think it's just M-4.
Right, but I don't think I need side margins.
so that's MT5 right there.
So if we want to double that, try MY5. Also, it's based in rems, so we could increase the base font size in order to increase it. So if you try MY5, that's Y is in like the vertical axis. So that's top and bottom margin. Wow, that is not actually doing what we want it to, is it?
No, do we need content in this div?
No. Well, so let's do this with padding instead. Set PY5. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So that's padding in the y-axis, level 5. It has levels 0 through 5. And I'm going to paste the link to these.
Yeah. And like kind of what you're seeing now, folks, is a good example of like never mind. I was gonna go off on a tangent, so I'm just gonna pause. And you were saying you put something in the link for the class, Raphael?
Yeah, just now I pasted it.
Got it. Okay, I was just making sure that wasn't for me. Okay, awesome. So we got that. Let me go over here. Maybe is this get assistance button up next?
Yep.
You feel good about the way this is looking?
Yeah, that's good enough for now, I think.
Yeah, agreed. We could add. Should we add a little bit of space right here?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, I'll do like maybe another PY or empty div between the two?
Yeah,
Okay, and let me refresh the page just to make sure that I'm seeing what I want from code and not from anything that I edited in there. Let's try PY3. And folks, I'm just, maybe that's better MT, but I just wanted to go with something. Okay, awesome. And here, how are people doing, by the way? Is this useful? I just want to check in, and I can't,
Come in.
sorry?
It's great.
Awesome. Okay. I wonder what framework they're using here. It's gotta be, if it's not Bootstrap, it's clearly some framework because you see all these class names like Elementor, -container, and this and that. So link. I'm thinking maybe we need a Bootstrap button component at this point.
for the get assistance button. Yeah, why not?
Okay. So we want a large button.
Yeah, button class BTN, BTN primary probably.
Yeah, I was hoping for an oval button, but maybe that's like a phase 2.
Yeah, probably.
First, first make it work and then make it nice.
You can also
Okay.
just change the border radius on the button and make it an oval.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we'll probably we'll add in a class or something to do that.
Mhm.
Let me see what the button needs to be named. Get assistance. And then we want text center. And at this point, I am curious about, I don't know if we really need a containing div or not. This seems to be working. Let's see what we have. So this is not center. Probably because it's not a button. Or it's not text. Or maybe it needs to be wrapped in a div.
So text center will center the children of that element. So if you had things inside the button, they'd be centered.
Excuse me. I could wrap it in a div, or is there another approach that you would like?
That was the first thing I thought of, but there are probably a bunch of ways we could do it.
Let's do it. I'm sure there's a Flexbox way.
I feel like
Like-
the
Put your
Flexbox way still
H1
involves wrapping it in a div.
So why are you
Yeah.
putting your H1 and your H3 in separate divs? Like my initial thought would have put both of the headings and the button all in one div and try to center that content. Why are you guys deciding to have 3 separate divs for all of them?
They're not inside divs. We have a div here that closes for spacing, H1, a div here that closes for spacing in H3. Is that what you were asking about? I might have misunderstood the question.
Yeah, I guess I don't really understand the decision on let's stick an H1 and H3 and a button all in their own divs rather than making one div and centering those 3 pieces. I'm just trying to understand the decision.
How do you mean? The H1, the H3 are all in the same div.
Do you mean,
I mean, I see
Alicia-
different divs. I see a div on line 46 and a div on line.
So those are empty.
if we did something like
Oh,
this? Sure.
okay. Okay. I guess I was looking. Well, it doesn't look like they end.
They do with the slash here.
Oh,
Can
They
you
had,
self-close a div like that? Actually, I'm not sure.
I didn't know you
Oh.
could. but
You know, the editor, we may not, the editor actually did this, so I should keep it that way. But it put it all on one line, which can also be confusing to read.
so you just added random empty divs to put more space there?
Yeah,
Correct. And the reason that works is because that's a Bootstrap class.
Interesting.
So why wouldn't you just put a margin top on the, like the different, like H1 margin top, like 5 rem or something, and then H3 has margin top 2 rem?
I guess this is just kind of a personal preference, but I don't think that the H3 should be responsible for knowing how far away it is from the other elements. I think that's like part of the page more generally outside of the H3. So that I can like move the H3 somewhere else and it'll be spaced out differently depending on where I put it, I guess. I don't know. You
Yeah,
could do it
that-
the other way.
It makes sense to me. I've done it both ways. I'm not sure if I have a strong preference. I definitely think the advantage of this way is separation of concerns. And once you kind of get used to it, clarity, like, you know, it's kind of like having two different functions. Like the job of this is to give spacing. And the job of this is to display the H1 in the way that we want it. And if we have to change stuff, it makes it a little easier if everything's all in one. Like right now, it's not that bad, but sometimes, you know, the more stuff you add, it can get confusing.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's definitely more than one approach. I think there is, yeah, some nice clarity that we get with this way.
Yeah. All right, let's mosey. See
Yeah.
what more we can do.
Yeah, we need to, okay, I centered that. Yeah, and we have this text center that we're using in a lot of places, and like one approach might be wrap all of this in a div and use text center or some Flexbox thing, but that's sort of like once you get it working and done and looking the way you want, something you circle back to and make a decision about, because I'm not sure either way. So this looks pretty good. I'm gonna add a little more spacing. And do we care about the ovalness right now or not?
Let's come back to that. I
Awesome.
want to get just some more of the structure of the page down.
Yeah, agreed.
So we got maybe a paragraph for as featured in.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Let me do that right now. Yeah, and I will say as we add more and more with the divs for spacing, my own taste might lead to creating a class or something. But again, that was something I would do later, maybe. Like right now, this is working really well and it's easy and it's readable. And we want paragraph as featured in, let's see here.
I also wanted to ask, like, the way the assignments have been structured, it's like, write your HTML, write your JavaScript, write your CSS. Whereas you guys are more going about, write a little bit of HTML, style that HTML, write some more HTML, style that HTML, which I think seems to be working better than what I've done, because you may make changes to your HTML based on the styling you want to do. But would you agree with that, or is it more common you write almost all your HTML and then a CSS?
My take is the way we're doing it is the way to do it in little pieces with the HTML and CSS together. And that's a really good point, Alicia, because I think that's, especially when beginning, especially with tutorials and examples, where you kind of see everything at once, like you're still learning the process of like, what's my actual construction building process for doing this?
Yeah, I can't know that I've written correct HTML until I've written the CSS to go along with it.
Yeah, I would concur. And a lot of the times, the really good software engineers I've seen, like they will write code that I think is terrible and that makes me cringe, but they get it done really quick and it's super simple and it's in small pieces, like really small pieces. And then they go back and improve the structure, improve the format, improve the code quality as much as they want. And it's definitely a skill, like, and it's one that I'm still practicing and stuff. So Rafa,
Did we
yeah,
get the as featured in?
we did. Here, let me show you what that looks like.
Okay,
It's a
cool.
little small, but
Yeah, it's fine. So now maybe a flex container or something for those 4 logos,
yeah.
just so
sounds
that they're
good.
evenly spaced. So D flex, D dash flex. So that's a Bootstrap class. All it does is apply display flex. Pretty simple.
I'm just gonna do this real quick, just so we can. I probably don't want to spam, do I? Because we're using the deflex container.
I'm not sure how much it matters, to be honest. Let's try div instead, maybe.
Yeah. I must be doing,
Let's set some Flexbox properties on the parent.
there it is.
So
Yeah.
what is it? Justify content or something?
Yeah. Let's see. Text center or
There should be a Flexbox class that we need or that we can use here. Hang on, I'm just Googling real quick.
yeah, and I'll add, we do want the white text.
Okay. So yeah, add a class, justify content around.
Got it. Right. I need to create a class.
This is another Bootstrap class, I'm saying.
Oh,
Or
thank you.
justify content around. So this is a shorthand for justify content space around, just another Flexbox property, but it's so
There we go.
commonly used that, you know, they provided to you already. Cool. So I think there was just one more logo, so you get 4 of them spaced out. That'll be perfect.
Yeah, and we might, yeah, well, let's see if we have to tweak anything. And I'm thinking once we get like the Flexbox structure and layout, I can grab, hopefully just grab, those are images that we can steal.
Yeah, but I kind of want to come back to the images bit just because I want to get to the next section on the page.
Sounds
There's
good.
some cool stuff there.
Sounds good.
Okay, so yeah, let's get that text, put it in like an H1. So that's going to be after our colorful image.
One class equals text. I think that's correct. Let's see if that works.
Let's take a look.
Yep, I'll add some more padding. Yeah, I think the big concept here is like the term is composition. Like we have all these little tools that each do one thing. And because of that, we can combine them and build something pretty quickly.
Hold on.
Yeah, let me know what you want me to tackle next.
So that line, hire the top 5%, that should be outside of the background image.
Okay. I see. And we have, so this is the background image.
Yeah, so let's actually make another fluid container after that one, and that will contain that next text.
down, do you mean here around it? Around the H1 or another layer for the whole thing at the top?
I mean, can you just collapse the container fluid?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just make another container fluid after it.
Right here.
Uh-huh.
Yep, got it. Thank you. And then put the H1 inside that.
Uh-huh.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we wanted to wrap everything in another. I'm not sure if that would have worked actually. So that let's see which one. Would make
You
more
can leave the
sense.
padding where it was, I think.
I think you're right. Thank you. That all looks correct. And the image may still just be stretching down. I'm not sure if that's what's going on here.
Can you inspect it? That doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah, let me bring the inspector up. So maybe I didn't. It's still in the container fluid. I goofed. I think, yeah, because we would, yeah. So that, but let me do a little collapsing here.
Yeah, do you have an unclosed div by chance?
I might, yeah, I think. Because this one. What's this div for?
You can see the line is going all the way down to the bottom for your div fluid container.
Thank you. Yeah. Let me back it up a bit and then fix it. So we have all these. We have this one. We have this one. This is nothing. This should be the container fluid.
Okay, so scroll down a little bit. Here's what I'm thinking. So just click on the div on 58. Okay, so we can see the matching div for that guy. So let's collapse that. Okay, that looks reasonable. So the div on 52, that matches. Let's collapse that guy.
Yep.
Scroll up a little more.
The nav, hopefully everything here is closed.
So
Should we
can you
look
click the
inside?
div on line 12? Or just like click on the L or uncollapse it, sorry. And then just click on the div tag, the open tag.
Yeah, and see where the closing tag is.
Right, but it's not highlighting, or wait, is it?
I'm missing a div. Because this one, I've got two, the very top, and then the container fluid background and container. And down here, there's just the one. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, so scroll up a little bit more. Definitely missing a closing div somewhere.
Okay.
Open up the nav. I have a hunch that you're
Yeah,
missing something in there.
yeah.
So
How about here? Start here.
yeah, so collapse that. That looks correct.
What's the keyboard shortcut for collapse, folks? Does anyone know?
I have no idea. I just clicked the little arrows.
I have a Vim one, but it's not. So that closes this li.
Yeah, that's fine. 27 is fine. Let's close that.
24 should be good. 21.
So
should be
that
good.
div on line 19, does that guy close properly?
Good question.
Okay, yeah, that
Looks-
looks correct.
Yeah. The button closes. What is, oh, that's the closing one for line 19. So line 14, that closes.
Yeah,
Nav, that closes.
hold up.
I
What is
think-
on line 45? Just an open div. That guy looks out of place. Let's take him out of here.
Yeah. And then, yeah,
I think that was our issue.
I think you're right. So that one closes that, and that one closes that. Okay, so I have a small tweak to do here, because
Mhm.
that should go there.
So just for those of us, watching along here, what makes this, what we're doing here is basically clicking on the opening tags, and then VS Code is going to highlight what it thinks is the closing tag.
Yeah,
And so given that we've been indenting our code meticulously, it's pretty easy to see if the tag that we think should be the closing tag is the one that VS Code thinks is the closing tag.
yeah,
And if that's not the case, then we know kind of where to investigate a little further.
yeah. This is also why I like tools that do a lot of auto formatting for you and editor settings that use bright, bold red colors to highlight syntax errors and stuff.
So let's see that in the browser now.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because this is here. This div closes that, and then that, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good. Let's check it out.
Yeah, and then it was, does this, so this, we don't,
All
So
right.
H1 has to be out of your background. Dave.
Yeah. So,
I think that was the next thing that you were saying, Raphael.
right. So yeah, after that div on 66, we're going to make another container fluid.
And I still want the text center here, correct?
Mhm.
Oh, and let's not make it white.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. So one thing I really want to see though is honestly the bottom of this image, because like the gradient effect at the end of it is kind of cool, where it like sort of fades out. So can we actually,
I could make that text really big. I could make it an H1. Oh, it is an H1. I'll apply the font size that we have and use a break.
so first, can we set a height on the background image? Like how tall is this thing supposed to be actually?
Yeah. And also, it's almost noon. I definitely feel like this is good and we should keep rolling. I wonder if at some point we should break and maybe even if there's time, return to this after lunch. So you were saying the height of the background image?
Yeah.
Should I have to Google?
Just go to your inspector real quick. Let's just
Yeah.
set height on it and scroll up until it looks good.
That's a good idea. Okay, so that's what I want. Gotcha. 500 pixels.
800 pixels, 1000 pixels.
1500 pixels. So 1500 gives us a bit too much. Yeah, so maybe 1200 pixels. You might be right about 1000.
What's the black space about?
I think that's like the height is bigger than the image and then it repeats. I'm pretty certain that's what was happening.
Can
Because
we
here with
set the
1000.
image to stretch instead?
Height stretch.
So for the background class, like for background images, I'm pretty sure you can set them to stretch. Or fill.
What's the attribute name that I'm modifying?
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I was going to background dash size.
Yeah, background size, is it cover?
That was what it looks like to me. Contain, that's kind of fun. Cover. So that doesn't quite.
So also set the height to like 1500 pixels and then background size cover. Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Got it. There's a giant. Should we move this back inside? Because now it's after the image and there's this giant gap. Or we could lower the background size, like 1000 was exactly the image size, if that's, or you want it to go big.
I guess I want it to just look like the magic site. How big is it there?
Story of my life. I just wanted to look like that.
It's a great question.
That's all I want.
Yeah, let's find out how they do it here. It's a great. I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right part.
Yeah, that's the end of it. Basically, what I'm getting at is that it looks to me like that text is actually like right before the end of its parent. So I would have
Yeah.
used position relative to push it up like 10 pixels or something.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about two things. One is, does this look right for the image in terms of its height and how much space it takes up?
I guess it's too big. It doesn't.
What about, I think what they do, what do they do? Yeah, there's a smooth transition there. And with like, maybe if we get rid of back,
How about this? Can we set the size of the background in, or set background size to 100%?
background size,
Yeah.
okay, and then heights.
Like 1000 pixels. I was thinking background size should like scale the image perfectly, so we still see the fade to white at the bottom. I just want to get it like fading to white elegantly. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah,
Instead of that hard border.
I wonder if they use like a containing div or something. I'm having a tricky time inspecting this to find where.
Could you try object fit fill?
Where's that?
If you put for the background image, object fit fill.
I don't think I've heard of that one before. With some quick Googling though, it looks like possibly what we want. How do
The
we use
attribute
this?
name is background image. DevTools is not giving me good options. It looks like it's setting a color with the background image property. But I'm not familiar with that. So I could be using it wrong.
So can we go back to our HTML or our app in the browser? Set the background size to contain. What do we have background size at currently?
I'm not sure we have it to anything. We'll check in a moment. Yeah, contain definitely does it right for the height. Then it looks like, what is the description of background size? Let's see. Don't. Where do they describe what it does? This isn't really. I feel like if we could somehow stretch it horizontally, in addition to background size contain, then we would get what we want. Because it looks like, I'm guessing the actual image is not wide enough to take the whole screen because they duplicate it. But then height-wise, that's perfect.
Yeah, can we like combine those somehow? I'm not sure.
Can you try background size 100%, 100%? Oh, well, that,
Yeah, but that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the
or
background
maybe repeat
size.
works that way too. Now try background repeat, no repeat. Oh, that just gets rid of the other side.
Not quite. What are other values for background repeat? Or never mind.
I think I figured it out. Mind if I share my screen real quick? See if it's what you're trying to get at.
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so can you see my screen down here?
Yes.
So I have it where it kind of does the little gradient like that.
Mhm.
And the way I did that, it was like Alicia said, where it's object fit. So I set my background image to my body and I did object fit cover and then no repeat. And then that seems to work. So I just like set the height of one of my divs to like 4,000 pixels just so I can get a scroll, and then it does that nice little gradient. But there's like a little bit of a like you can kind of see where it shifts, but I feel like if you put text over that, you're not going to be able to tell.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Can I see your code
Behind
again?
you.
Yeah. It's like I said, I set my background stuff to the body, just it just made sense to me. And then I did object fit
Got it.
cover. That's what Alicia was saying. And then
I misunderstood.
no repeats. That way the image doesn't keep going on and on.
Cool. Thank you. Let me share my screen and see if we can get some of that working. First thing I want to try is I misunderstood Alicia.
I think I actually said fill, not cover. So Michael, that's all you.
And what else did you have here, Michael?
I had let me see what it said. Background hyphen repeat No repeat.
Background, repeat.
Oh, it's not gonna work for you right now because the size of your div isn't big enough. Like Michael had to
Right.
set his div a lot bigger because to see it, right? Mike?
Yeah, and I also set my background image to the body of my web page, so that way it like can use the whole size of the document.
So I think that would put you in the same boat you were before, because you had it before at the 1500 pixels, but that sounds like that wasn't what you were trying to do.
Right, so then we have this
Yeah, where it's just taller than we want.
is,
I feel like we should have just used a gradient to begin with instead of trying to make their image work.
yeah, these things are always hacks. Yeah, which way do you want to take this, Raphael? I should check in with you. I don't have, nothing's coming to mind at the moment for me. We could try Michael's way and move stuff to body instead of on this div class.
What
Don't
I'm
think that would work
thinking,
great. We could pause.
yeah, I'm getting a little frustrated with these background images. I've honestly not worked with background images as much as other parts of CSS, usually just setting background color on a div. So I'm thinking at this point, we should break for lunch. And then when we come back, we're going to maybe try, people want us to follow this, continue this demo in the afternoon. Does that sound cool? Yeah. So I think we'll continue this afternoon, try this with a gradient instead of a background image. But also I really want to get to the marquee section right below it.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. That sounds good. Yeah, if I come up with anything over lunch, I'll ping people. Michael, please throw that code in Slack. And yeah, and like I think, like in hindsight, maybe we should have set a plain color background and built the layout and then circled back and done it last. Like if, but you know, for what we're doing, like this is good. That's sort of my like efficiency analysis. Just, and that, again, that's sort of my debugging approach, just to share with people.
Yeah, I think we've made pretty good progress in general.
Yeah.
I mean, real life CSS development is often kind of slow and awkward.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it'll be good. It'll be great to fill the layout out after lunch and just continue.
For sure. So do people have any questions right now before we break for lunch? No? All right.
There we go. Raphael, can you see my Visual Studio Code editor?
Yep.
Awesome. And when I switch, can you see now a website?
Uh-huh.
Okay, back to VS Code. Awesome. I just wanted to confirm that, you know, setting up the different little desktops didn't mess anything up with the screen share. And so this is, I think, where we were with the state of the code. And we were working to get that background image the way we want it. And I know there were a couple approaches. And I believe, and I got my stuff sorted out with Git. So I'll have, I'm saving all this code and we'll make sure to, it's all local on my machine, but we'll make sure to push it to probably the notes and demos repo. And we had that background image and it looks like I think most of what we were doing right before the break was all with dev tools in the browser. So I think this state of the code is sort of where we were last at. It should be what's expected at this point.
So I just noticed you got some unsaved changes in your styles file. What's going on there?
Yeah, thank you. Let's see, what did our changes? Not sure. Let me confirm that the styles file is being tracked in Git, and it is. Okay, thank you, Raphael.
Mhm.
I think we should be set.
Okay. So let's look in your browser again. Let me just remind myself of what we've got.
Yeah.
So let's scroll down a little bit. What's the next thing that we want to do?
Yeah. This is our site.
Yeah, so I'm going to come back to that image. I think we want to replace it with a gradient, but not for quite right now. So let's see. First of all, that heading hire the top 5% college educated virtual assistants. Let's try to format that more how it is on the Magic site, which for some bizarre reason, they have a word break in college educated, which I don't know if that's maybe the best typography, but we're going to copy it exactly. So.
Okay. Yeah. So that is really funny that they do that. So that's step number one.
And maybe bump up the font size a little bit, make it bolder perhaps.
Sure. Should we worry about the different color of the text right now, or?
Yeah, why
back to
not?
it?
Put a span
Okay.
around those 4 words.
Okay. And it looks like, I think I'll create, I think I need to create a class for the font size here.
Mhm.
Let's just call it, this is not the best class title. If there's something better, please let me know. Because we had the
Mhm.
main heading.
Also, can you use an H2 instead of an H1 just for semantics?
Yeah, that's a good call.
If it's a secondary heading, H2 would make more sense as the element.
Totally, yeah. I was doing that H1 just as a way to try and bump up the font size. And then let's put XPX. Make it a class that we probably want for the span as well. Color blue. Here, we want to apply our class. H2 text centers, very heaven. Here we need to, let me check where they put the span. Where are the top 5%? My H2 close quickly.
You have the, oh no, you got it, okay. Or no, I'm sorry, there's the end span at the start.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, VS Code kind of got over eager.
Yeah, the auto complete of like close tags, I think is actually not very useful.
Yeah, and I need to set up a better formatter for this because it's not doing the best job. But let's see, we need a space here. Let's put maybe the break on its own line. And now when I say that, it will probably, okay, good. Let's see how we're doing. That's not bad. How's that looking?
Maybe font weight bold, and then we can move on.
Awesome. I would have thought, okay. Good call. Awesome.
Let's drop a spacing class underneath it, or a spacing div.
Yep. I've just been using 3. You can give that a shot. Maybe we need to bump it down to 2 here. I'm not sure.
3 feels good.
Okay.
Looks about right. Okay, so then after that, we've got, looks like a little grid. There's going to be 2 columns here with an image on the left and then some text on the right.
Yep.
Yeah. That person.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking, like you said, Bootstrap Grid. Not sure off the top of my head if we need container fluid or not, and 1 row, 2 columns.
So we're already in a container.
Oh yeah, awesome.
So let's just create a row.
Probably just column small.
I like specifying the width. So let's say column small 6. In this case, it's not necessary. We would get the same behavior with just column small, but it's just kind of a habit of mine. I always specify the width.
It is nice. Agreed. Do I do it this way?
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't want 2 of them. I'm just going to put image, text. We can confirm.
Yep.
So not quite where I did close the row. So let's see what's going on here.
So it's because it's in a fluid container. So let's actually put it inside of a container. Just to smooth the margins in a little bit.
Right here.
Yeah. Just a regular container.
Yeah. And someone was asking about, like, would we ever like nest? It was either fluid inside a non-fluid or the other way around. I remember that was a question the other day.
Could be.
Getting there. That's actually, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's just the text isn't centered.
Yep.
But I don't think it's even supposed to be. So that's probably fine.
Yep.
So how big is the image? Or I guess we can just use the
Yeah.
actual image.
And I apologize. I'm just I'm getting rid of. I need to quickly get rid of a couple things so that the zoom controls aren't blocking when I'm looking at DevTools and stuff.
Yeah, it's really obnoxious.
Awesome. Yeah. And you were asking about the size of the image?
Yeah, that's not actually a relevant question. Just copy the image URL. I was thinking about replacing it with an image of the same size, but that's even more work than we have to do. So yeah, you can just like right click on it, I think, and like copy image URL.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Just like the image on the rendered page. You know, as if you're not even a developer. Right.
Yep. And they do set a width and height for the image, so we can grab those if
yeah.
we need to.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree. We should do this and see how it goes. Let's see. So the image, I'm going to put that in the image tag in just a moment.
Dalton, you have a question while we're writing up this image tag?
Yeah, so that's the second time you guys used the container and it kind of looks the same as the nav bar. Is that just the default width? Could you make that bigger or larger if you, or bigger or smaller if you wanted to?
So by default, the container, I guess you can think of it as that like enforces Bootstrap's breakpoints. So for different screen widths, there are like, 5 or 6 different breakpoints in Bootstrap. And whenever you change the screen to be whatever width, the container class, because of the media queries, automatically changes its own max width. So there are ways that you can change the breakpoints in Bootstrap, and then that changes everything else in Bootstrap that like refers to those breakpoints. But I wouldn't just manually override the container class to change its width, probably.
And so is that where container fluid comes in, where it's always going to take up the full width of your screen? Is that essentially the difference?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, that was a big old virtual assistant. So
Yeah, I thought, am I setting this image tag correctly? Do I need to self-close or add a closing tag?
looks correct to me.
I thought so. Okay. And I just sort of, and this is like kind
Oh,
of,
pixels? You need units for those guys.
oh, thank you. Yeah, that would probably do it. Yeah, and folks, like when you have an HTML element with a lot of attributes, there's like a style, one style to write it in, just for clarity. Interesting, because they, so this is what I was grabbing from. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
saw, they don't set anything, but they do.
Can you look at the parent of that element real quick?
Yeah, that's a good call.
So we're going to need to copy that box shadow in a second, but that's not what we're doing right now.
Oh, that's a good eye. I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the sizing is coming from.
You know, it looks like they're listing multiple. They have, well, they have the alt image source. So they have a set of images and then they give.
Yeah,
like
I don't know what the heck we're doing.
sizes.
Let's just do it in CSS.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, how should we?
Just slap a class on that image, write some styles for it. Yeah, I don't know why those height and width attributes aren't working how we expect them to.
Let's call this, I don't know, hero2-image container. It's pretty verbose. Maybe just image container.
Or is this going to be on a container or the image itself?
Oh, good point. How's that?
Great.
And let me. Yes, folks, as you can see, like hero is sort of the term for anything that's huge and wide and like all across the screen. So we want to get rid of the width and height here. I'm taking it and we're going to be adding stuff into the CSS class.
Yeah.
Okay. It's possible there's a smaller image from one of the alternate source sets that we could grab, but I'm not sure. And I'm actually not sure how to make this smaller.
So something's not quite right in the styles. I can see that it has the class hero image, but on the right, it's not getting any styles from that class.
I haven't put anything in there yet.
Oh, I guess
I
that
don't, yeah, I'm not sure what to add.
Oh,
Actually.
of course. So yeah, can you just set height and width to what we want them to be?
Oh, yeah, got it. Thank you. see.
So I think 1024 is the size of the original picture, but then on the website, they resize it to like 400 something pixels.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. 1024 would be like the width of my monitor.
There we go. Awesome.
Cool, that's about the right size.
Yeah. It looks like, should we add the text and then address fixing layout issues, or?
On
Is
the call SM6, add text right. Or can you do that? I think we can.
For the image or the text column?
The image. Why is that not? Maybe it's because it's a flex thing.
You do justify content and
So that's a good idea. First, I want to just inspect this element and see what's happening with the style. Is text right actually giving it anything?
It's a good question.
I
And
mean,
I'm just
it,
curious, why would text right affect the image? Or like, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but it looks like you're editing the div that has the image in it.
the text align property in CSS can align a lot of things that aren't text, which is a little strange.
So what are you trying to do to the image?
Get it over to the right. So if you
Oh,
look on
okay.
the magic site, there isn't any like space in between the image.
Gotcha.
Well, there's a little bit. Well, so how do we want to do this? Because there's the box shadow there. Maybe it should be centered inside of its column. Maybe that's what we
look
want.
at the. It looks like. Yeah, it looks like they have it fill up all the space, and then maybe. Well, they have a bunch of wrappers here. I agree with you. I think centering is a good idea, and I think that's a good starting point too, because we can center them both and then adjust whatever we need from there. I'm not seeing text right. So actually text center works.
Oh, right. So this is something that came up before and I forgot about it. Text left and text right were in Bootstrap 4 and were renamed to text start and text end in Bootstrap 5.
I guess that makes sense because it's Flexbox. So if your Flexbox goes vertical, maybe that's why they did it for start and end, because Flex always talks about start and end.
I guess. I mean, these
Yeah.
properties used to just set text line right or text line left. So it was a pretty intuitive name.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, yeah, that's where we want it anyway. Great. So now for the actual text, let's paste the rest of the text in our box. Just got to filling up some space.
Yeah. And that's, I can throw it in the editor pretty quickly and just bump up the font size so we can get it closer.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see what they do with font size here real quick. Font size is 20. So here, we'll probably have to add some breakpoints, white space, and editors can be a little funny with HTML. So I'm just going to get it all as like one sentence with the spacing correct. And I'm going to add class, let's call it hero text, which is honestly not the best class name because now it might get confused with other stuff, but that's something we can come back to later. I think we said maybe 46, maybe 42 pixels. Let's just see what's, so that looks too big, maybe 24.
Yeah. Also, I'm liking Kaylee's suggestion in the chat. Let's put each of those sentences in a paragraph tag.
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea. And thank you. Yeah, I can't see the chat right now, so that's super helpful.
Also, fun bit of HTML trivia. Most HTML elements are just, boxes inside of boxes. Paragraph tags are actually a little bit special. For some reason, you cannot nest block level elements inside of paragraphs. So like you can't have nested p tags. I don't know why, but that's just HTML.
Interesting. I did not know that.
You've probably never tried. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but in case you do want to do it, you can't.
So I'm leaving, there are a couple short sentences and I'm leaving those together and we can see how that looks. I guess that's the only thing with the p tag is that it adds a little bit of margin or padding by default.
Yeah, and I think that's what we want in this case, but the first two sentences should go together in one paragraph.
Awesome. Yeah, got it. And maybe bring the rest, the bottom half into one paragraph as well? Or just leave it as is?
I think that's right.
Okay.
How about the box shadow on the image now?
Yeah, oh, you're right. It is, yeah, they changed the font right here. We can circle back to that though. Yeah, like if I was doing this for work, I would just make a note in my code, like to do, change font weight and circle back. Let's look at the box shadow. Trying to it's a little tricky for me to read. Maybe is it? Could it be on the container?
I believe it is, yeah.
We should be looking at the styles.
Uh-huh.
There it is, box shadow. You're totally right. Okay, so Raphael, I'm thinking try it on the image attribute, and if it works, great. And if not, we wrap the image in a containing div to do this.
Yeah, that's probably what I would try first.
Okay. I guess the other thing we could do is we could just wrap it in a containing div, but yeah, let's do this. Box shadow. And it looks like RGB. Is this correct for box shadow? Is RGB part of the box shadow property, or did I grab two separate things?
No, that's right. You can have the shadow be any color you want.
Awesome.
Usually some shade of gray is preferable, but yeah, it can be a rainbow or whatever.
Cool. And hey, look at that. We got box shadow.
Nice. Does look a little far away from the text though.
It is. We've got some padding. Well, I don't know if it's padding, but it's not like their image maybe. It's not like,
Wait, is your image actually centered?
no, it's now uncentered. Oh,
Did you
maybe.
just add text editor in the inspector?
Yeah, I did exactly. Oh,
You want to add the class in the HTML?
thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Hero image, text. Maybe, does it need to go here?
Didn't you have it right?
There we go. I think it works on the containing div. I put it on the image tag and it didn't, right, which makes sense because I'm not sure if there's anything inside the image tag technically.
Yeah,
There's not a text node.
that's right. Yeah, text center is for centering the children of what you place it on.
Got it.
Um,
And so we're pretty close. It's not too bad. I think, oh, so they just have a bit more padding on the right. We do have this texture on the right needs to be pulled. It needs some margin or padding on the right side, but I'm not sure if we should tackle that now or what you want to tackle next.
what needs margin or padding?
I think, so this text magic makes it easy to pre-hire. Here, I think we need some padding or margin so the text doesn't run over like that, so that it stays within the container and there's like, this much empty space on the right and this much on the left. But that's not critical.
I want to try one thing. This is a little weird. Let's go back to your HTML. Make each of those columns 5.
Yeah.
And then just add an empty one with column at the start.
Nice.
Okay. So it's still like, 12 column layout, except instead of being 6 and 6, it's 1, 5, 5, 1.
So
Got
can I
it.
get clarity on the small class? So does that, since you have just the small specified, does that mean on any screens less than small, it'll all stack on top of each other? Is that what
Correct.
that means? Okay,
Yeah. So all of the size classes in Bootstrap apply to screens of that size or larger. And then for smaller screens, there's just nothing specified. So it stacks up vertically.
got it, thanks.
Dalton?
I'm just curious, so since you guys have the background image and it like fades away, are you still technically looking at the background image, or is that just a color at this point?
I mean, the background image like ends right there. I'm not sure what you mean.
So yeah, that's what I mean. So like once the background image ends, since you're just looking at the body background now, is that how that works?
I think there's another fluid container.
Uh,
And so that's the background we're looking at. We haven't set the color, so it's just white by default.
and so then I'm assuming, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and you're correct that here we are not seeing the image at all. The
Yeah.
background image.
Because that was my question. So essentially at that point, since I think the fluid container is before the background image, or after, I'm sorry. So essentially once that background image ends, you're just looking at a container now. Does that make sense? Maybe?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so let's scroll down to the bottom of this page here. How does that look? Okay, that's where we're at. So let's look at the magic site, see what's the next thing to build. Okay, so we need a little horizontal line.
I didn't do this. Element divider. And they have a span. And,
Yeah, so we can just make our own like custom, horizontal line just make them a 0 height div with a border.
Sounds great. Yeah, I've done this and then forgotten how to do it. Let's see. We want it to be definitely outside the row, and do we want it inside the container for this next section?
Yeah, because it's not a full width horizontal line.
Cool. So the row ends. We probably need another row.
I don't think so, because we're not putting any columns in yet. This guy's just going all the way across the screen. Or well, during the
That's
container.
true. I don't know what Bootstrap does. I'm used to putting in, I think I just by default divide everything into rows.
Yeah, if we don't need columns, we don't need a row.
Let's call it separator line.
Cool.
Let's create that. And you were saying border outline.
So just, well, let's just set border top actually. To 1 pixel solid gray or some shade of gray.
I'm going to be boring and go for gray.
Cool.
Gray. And then, yeah.
Actually, I don't know if we need anything else. Yeah, okay, that's great. So
Right.
let's add just some spacing before and after it then.
So, right, and after it, yeah, good call. So we can see where it is. Awesome. I think we need a container to constrain its width so that the ends, or we need a row if we want it to end at the same point at the edges of the picture and the text, if that makes sense. So we may
Yeah,
not,
you're right. The same like 1551 thing that we did above. Probably wanna-
yes,
Probably repeat that pattern so we can get it to take up the same width. That makes sense.
yeah. Is the magic, is that what the magic site does? I could also fake it with padding, whatever you prefer. I think I could fake it with
Sure.
padding. Okay, let's see here. I'm just going to add a row, if it's okay with you, Raphael. I'm so used to seeing it, I feel a little funny without it there. And that gets us a little closer. And let's put this in a column. It's just going to be 1 column. And I may end up, oh, this is in the wrong spot. I may end up doing exactly what you were saying with the 1551 that I've gotten this far. Let's see what we have. Yeah. I think I'm going to,
Yeah, so I have an empty 1 column. And then
then
put that guy in a column 10, the separator line.
Okay.
Cool.
yeah,
Can you actually specify 10 just for my peace of mind?
yeah,
Again, it
totally.
doesn't actually change how it's going to render in this case, but I just like
No,
seeing
it-
the rules there.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't rendering right either. Yeah, and this is good because it's explicit and people can kind of tell what we're doing here.
Mhm. All right,
And this is
so
nice too. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
still not exact, but this is close enough. I think this is pretty good.
agreed. Yeah, I think this is a really common thing you see in design where the separator line goes out a little further. And then we have this, what our VAs do. We specialize in admin, data, and research work. And I think I have a first thought, Raphael, but I want to check in with you, especially as you're navigating about how to tackle this.
I mean, so just the text first should be pretty simple. Should be pretty similar to text that we've had previously.
Yeah, that is, yeah, I think we're on the same page.
So we should be able to do a little copy pasting to get that looking consistent.
Do you want me to do a row or not?
I don't think it's necessary here.
And then let me find that class name. This is too, like, because this secondary heading class is so simple, it makes it easy for us to reuse it. And then here, we're going to do the exact same technique with the span. Yeah, I thought we might need like a row, and you're totally right that we don't. Class. I need to see what the class name is. This is also, by the way, like well, a lot of programmers get really persnickety about naming things because I find my life so much simpler when my class and variable names help me understand the structure and what's going on. And then, Raphael, do you want me to tackle this the same way?
Yep.
Awesome. This is probably an H3, which we haven't used yet. And we'll center it. And we'll see what that looks like and go from there. It's pretty close.
Smaller.
Yeah, smaller font weight and a little space, a little bit of space above it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is what should we call this class? I always wonder, you know,
Tertiary heading.
yeah.
Sorry.
I know, I was thinking that too. And then I was thinking, should we just do this? How about heading 3? We want something consistent. I could do subheading, but that's confusing. So my vote would be, and I'm sure there are better ways of doing this, like name this heading 3, and then when I'm done with everything else, I would go back and rename the other classes to heading 1 and heading 2.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I'll try 24 and see how that goes. And font. Wait. Thank you. Let's try lighter and see if that gets us where we want to be. And then we want that here. And I think that looks like too much padding.
Mhm.
So I'll fix that. But otherwise, that looks about right.
Yep, yeah, take out a little padding and then I think we're ready to move forward.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Good
It's
enough.
maybe yeah. Awesome. And then we have this sort of marquee thing.
Okay, so let's just do one row, and I think if we can get one row, the others won't be hard to figure out. So let's just we'll get a marquee tag first. And then gonna put a bunch of buttons in it, see if we can get them scrolling correctly.
Okay. Oh, this is gonna look really cool. I've never used the marquee tag. So I need to add a little spacing. Maybe I think the standard amount of 3. And I'm quickly looking. I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything layout related with the gutters at the edges that we had to be mindful of, but I think we'll be able to sort all that out. And actually being inside this container is nice because it gives us a lot of flexibility if we need to do stuff. So we need our spacing here. And then, is this correct?
Mhm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And now, as you were saying, we need a bunch of buttons inside the marquee tag.
Yep.
I'm going to look quickly at the Bootstrap docs for maybe, I'll just do button type. I don't even know if I need to add a button primary or secondary for anything. Do you have anything you want me to do at this point, Raphael, with the button?
Why are you
Just-
using buttons? They're not links, right?
Yeah, they're just buttons. I don't think these are gonna even go anywhere.
I guess I thought buttons were always links.
Not necessarily. It's just something that is clickable and like it changes the style a little bit when you click on it, so it looks like it's clicked. But they can do anything.
Does it do that?
So these are
You-
apparently not buttons. These are just like divs with rounded corners and box shadow.
Yeah,
So-
you're right about that, Alicia. I think we went to buttons, and I was kind of on the same page as Raphael, just because my mind was like, looks like a button. Let's get a button and get it working. But you're absolutely right about like kind of behavior and semantics. Sorry to interrupt, Raphael.
Yeah, these are not like clickable at all. So definitely not buttons. Good observation there. So yeah, let's just, I guess, use a div for it. We'll add some styles to it.
Sure, yeah, because I guess we can just use border and border radius to do it.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll do a div and span, and that should do what we need. I'm curious if multiple divs in the marquee.
So I'm sorry if I'm still asking rudimentary questions here, but sometimes I get confused. Can you not just edit the marquee tag itself and give it a border and padding, or does it have to have a div around it?
That's a good question. So the marquee, whatever's inside the marquee tag scrolls. What we need to do is take these guys scrolling, and let me add some border to the span class because that will visualize and I think help. And we'll call this marquee item border. Let's do 2px. Raphael, any feelings about color or anything like that?
Not really. Black? I don't know.
Okay.
Salmon, great.
I was going for salmon. Border radius. How does this work? Is this going to round it?
I don't know. I always do it in some fixed number of pixels, but I just do it interactively until it looks good.
That's a great idea. Let's do eight pixels, 4 pixels, and go from there. That's a great
Right.
idea. Thank
I
you.
have never done math to calculate a border radius.
Yeah, agreed. That's the magic of DevTools. And this is marquee. This is a great example of if you're using a web framework, it can do all the work of generating these. So we're not, excuse me, writing like 50 of these by hand. Yeah, and so as to your point, Alicia, like the marquee scrolls everything inside it. And then we need to make the things inside that are scrolling look overly and rounded and buttony.
I guess I thought that each individual one would be its own individual marquee, which is what I was asking is, could you just put a border around that? But
Got
this is fine. I was just curious because I still struggle with, do I put it in a div? Do I try to just edit itself? So I was just wondering why you guys were gonna do a div per marquee, but this is
For
good.
sure. Yeah, my understanding is like each layer of this is going to be one marquee element. And let me know if I misinterpreted on that, Raphael.
You got it?
Cool. So, I mean, ours is a bit smaller. We can add padding to make this larger.
Yeah, let's
I'm
add
not-
some padding and bump up the font size a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds like a great call. And if we, yeah, I'm gonna do that now. As to Alicia's point, we probably could do something with like Flexbox so that we could wrap. I suppose we could put a div inside here. I don't even know if we need 2 layers though, to be honest, to do most of this. Let's do, yeah, padding. Let's try 8px. Font size, maybe 16px. Let's see what happens there. So I think we need to make the marquee itself bigger.
Can you inspect it?
Yeah, totally. I think the marquee is cutting stuff off, if that makes sense. Like the marquee is not expanding in height.
Can you set the marquee item to be inline block?
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a very good call. Display inline. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is, yeah, are there questions about this? I know we want to keep moving, but Raphael, that was a good call. This is like for HTML, CSS.
So that's what I was saying before in our like intermediate CSS lecture about how inline elements can't have dimensions. They can't have like height and width. So setting a border on an inline element might be weird. So we have to set them to inline block so they can, you know, have dimensions and whatnot.
Yeah.
So let's get a whole bunch more buttons in there and see if we can get them to fill up the row.
Yeah. And I'm going to tweak that border radius to 8.
Oh yeah, and set the inline block in your style sheet.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, that's not bad. I'll do 16 and then move forward. And that's close enough. We're good there. And yeah, now we need to add a whole bunch more. All right, I could.
Not great, right?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just reading the Magic website.
Yeah, I was gonna say if folks just want to shout out things that we should put in here, because I can't. I only have the one screen at the moment. Document writing. They don't have to be from the site. If anyone has something fun or funny, or Raphael, what do we? There's some names here. Put a Pokemon name in. Analysis.
Building
How
synergy.
about synergy? Yeah,
That's businessy. Got some Zuckerberg in there.
totally good call. Suckerboard. Nothing. Are people doing okay, or are we on like Friday post lunch siesta mindset?
Mhm.
Let's see here. Hello world document analysis, spreading, making up on calls, scheduling, quality assurance. All right.
I think they only have like 5 in a row that just keep scrolling. Because each marquee is going to be its own line, right? Or is that gonna
Right.
be the entire?
Exactly. Exactly. We're gonna have to just copy this. Let's see, how many do we have here? We need maybe a few more so it's continuous.
Or just make them bigger, maybe.
Make them bigger. That's a good call. Increase a border attribute to make them bigger, you think?
Maybe a little bit of everything. Extra pixel on the border, extra margin, maybe.
Yeah. Or let's make maybe padding.
But let's
16.
set only the padding horizontally to be so big. The vertical padding doesn't need to be quite as big.
Got it. I know there's a way to do it all in one, but I always see if that does it. I'm not sure if that.
I'm not sure either.
I don't remember the order, so I'm just going to do them individually.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So there is a way you can just say padding and then list 4 numbers, but then you have
Yeah.
to remember which number refers to which side. So
It's
you-
like, sorry, go ahead.
No, you got it.
I was going to say, I want to say it's like left, top, right, bottom, or maybe it's top, right, bottom, left, but I have no clue. I'm not certain. There's some logic to it.
Goes in a circle.
This,
Is that right?
there we go. Yeah, I think the padding's increased. I guess, oh, the marquee doesn't loop, does it?
It should loop. Oh,
It
go back to
yeah,
the
it-
page. Like when it finishes, does it? Yeah. How do we get it to not have that break though? It's possible that marquee just doesn't work that way also.
Let's see. Overflow hidden. Linear infinite animation.
Oh, they're
I
not
think
even
I could
using a
get-
marquee element. They're just manually animating
Yeah.
something to wrap around the screen.
Yeah. I
That's
feel like
not
I
fair.
might get lost in this. What do you want to do, Raphael?
That's because technically marquee was depreciated.
So I have to just chime in here with a minor correction.
Yeah.
The term is deprecated when there's some piece of technology which is no longer supported and you are being discouraged from using in the future. Depreciating is when a financial asset loses value.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can always tell when developers come from a finance background. based on what they mispronounce.
And as to your point, Alicia, it was something like this. This is definitely the company you want to hire. Raphael, honestly,
Good
my first
quality
thought would
assets,
be,
that's for sure.
yeah. My first thought is to move forward, but I just want to check in and see what you want to do.
Like
Yeah,
you're
I don't think the
really
marquee tag
detailed.
is really built for beauty, the way we're trying to make it work. So I think we're just gonna have to live with this gap here for now, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Because there's other cool effects that we can build here. So let's go to the magic site again.
Yeah. I'll share that code pen later.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
If you want to make a modern marquee that uses CSS animations instead of the marquee tag. All right, so I really like the, let's scroll up a little bit.
Yep.
The kind of like fading effect, how it's like blurry on the sides, but then it like is visible in the middle.
Okay.
So what I would like to do, how are we going to use this?
Is that a box shadow on each thing inside there? Is that what you're referring? Oh, you mean how it, I see what you're saying. How I missed that. Okay. How like with travel arrangements, it starts to fade as it reaches the left corner. How each item in the marquee starts to go transparent.
Hang on a second.
What do you think about implementing maybe this separator and this next section, and then we could circle back? That might be good structure for people to see. And that's the rest of the site looks like it's pretty much a replication of those things.
No, we got this. I think we can do this.
Okay, awesome. Let's do it.
So we're going to implement this using a gradient, actually.
Cool.
So
awesome.
So if you want to make a gradient, first thing you do is you go to Google and then you type in CSS Gradient Generator, because nobody remembers how to do these things. Top link looks great. So this is going to be interesting because this isn't a gradient the way you would traditionally think about it, where it like transitions from one color to another. But what we're transitioning is just the opacity. So
I'm going to do a little cheat here.
yeah,
okay.
What was that guy just popping up?
It was an ad.
Fun. All right, so we're going to change. So all three of these points are going to get set to white. And then, yeah, probably want to put that guy in the middle. Yeah, so just 0, 0, 0, 0.
Thank you. I was so confused. I wasn't sure if I should be. Okay.
Then can you drag it? Or no, wait. 255, 255, 255, 255. And then 0 for the last number, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. Or
and then can you drag that guy into the middle? The little, like 35 up top?
This one.
Yeah. Drag that in the middle. And
there.
then, yeah, and so then the ones on the ends, we're going to set that to solid white. So the 0 and the 100, yeah, that guy.
Bring it.
Keep it at the edge.
Okay.
But we're just going to change the color to solid white. So 255, 255, 255, 100.
Oh, I see. I apologize. I was getting confused by the user interface. I see what's
Yeah.
happening now.
You could probably also just use the color picker in the bottom left and like drag it into the corner.
For sure. I was, and 100 for the last value.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then the left side, we're going to do the same thing.
All the way over here.
Yeah, and set that to solid white.
Okay.
Okay, so so this doesn't look like much now, but this is a gradient where it's solid white on the outsides and then just transparent on the inside. So what we need to do now is overlay this on top of our marquee.
Okay.
Go over what
And
the transparency coming into play.
I actually wanted to double check, Raphael, with you that I have this correct for the middle value.
Set the alpha to 0 for the middle value.
Thank you.
Okay, so now you can maybe see it, how there's like a very sharp focused checkerboard
Yeah.
pattern in the middle, and it gets kind of fuzzy towards the edges.
Yeah,
So here we have a transparency gradient.
this is awesome.
Let's scroll down a little bit. And there's the code.
Awesome. And it looks like I need both of,
So. Did
Alicia,
we do
yeah,
that
go ahead.
backwards though? Like, because isn't the transparency more on the right and left, or did it? Or maybe not?
Well,
I get, sorry, go ahead.
you're able to read the text in the middle, so it must be transparent there, right? You're only seeing the white edges on the.
Oh, okay, never mind,
border.
okay, I got it, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Alicia. I didn't realize it was working that way either, that we fade the text to white. And because the background is white, it reduces the effect of disappearing text. Or something like that. And Raphael, do I want both of these lines or just the second one?
I think you need them both.
I think you're correct. Okay. And now we need to put them somewhere. Probably we need maybe,
It'll make a
let's
class
just,
marquee overlay, I think.
that's a great name. Yeah.
Watch your Q's and G's.
Oh, man, thank you.
That's what they say, right?
Yeah. Yep. This one, this editor doesn't do it. When I use IntelliJ, it tells me if I misspell a word, like a normal word, which is sometimes annoying, but usually great, actually. And then here, overlay.
So I'm wondering, I think we might need to have a container
Yep.
over
I was wondering
these,
about
and
that.
that's what's going to get the marquee overlay class.
Yep. That makes perfect sense. Okay. And I need to nest the marquees inside their containing div. We make sure that this div over here let's make sure that that's correct.
Okay, so I don't think this is going to work for us yet, because if the marquee is inside the marquee overlay, then it's going to display on top of our transparent, semi-transparent overlay. So that's not going to work the way we want it to. So let's go back to the code, or HTML. So rename that div class to marquee overlay container. And then inside of it, yeah, so let's make this guy, let's give it fixed dimensions.
Okay. Here are the HTML file.
Right here.
Okay. What did you mean by fixed dimensions?
Just say like height 600 pixels or something.
Oh, gotcha. That might be too high, but you'll see with 100 pixels. Got that there.
Okay, now then inside of the marquee overlay container, we'll put the marquee overlay.
Like so.
So this guy is going to be position absolute, I think, is what we want. So we can actually lay it on top of the marquees.
Okay. Give me just a sec to move all these marquees.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
I
not
wonder if I
indented.
should-
Hold up.
They should be. I'm sorry.
They don't go inside of the overlay.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
we're going to use
apologize.
absolute positioning in order to place it on top of it.
Got it. I totally missed that. Thank you. And we do want the marquees inside the overlay container and the overlays inside the overlay container. Should I get rid of like the extra marquees for simplicity while we're building this?
Sure. Yeah. Just make the HTML a little easier to read for the time being, or you could just collapse it even, but that's fine.
I'm too worried I'll get a div wrong. So I'm just gonna.
Okay. So let's go to your CSS real quick.
Yep.
So the overlay container needs position relative. And then on the marquee overlay, that's going to need position absolute. And then I think height and width 100%. So that it's the exact same dimensions as the overlay container.
Got it.
I think this works.
Should we see what we have going on in the browser?
Let's take a look.
It's like to maybe just, I think we might need to position the relative because it drops out of the flow.
Yeah. Where's the marquee overlay?
Yeah, that's a good question. The overlay doesn't. So here's the overlay. It looks like, yeah, the first RGB background quality got canceled out because we then run this second one.
Yeah, I think that's intended. I think the
Yeah.
first one is just a fallback for browsers that don't support gradients.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That makes sense.
So we can just kind of ignore that.
Okay.
I'm wondering why I'm not seeing my overlay effect here. So the marquee should be on top and it has the gradient.
Are we sure that the overlay is on top of the gradient? Or sorry, are we sure that marquee overlay is on top of the marquee?
And you
That
can
the
try adding
indexes
a
are
Z
correct?
next to it.
Like a higher value, correct?
Yeah.
Let me get, there we go.
Wow. Okay. That's what I was trying to do.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So maybe just use the index 100 to give us that kind of buffer like we were talking about the other day.
Yeah. Plenty of space to put other things above and between other things.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. I've never done much work with Z index, so I love that it's like continuing to come up. This is cool, actually. I've never really worked much with gradients. So this is really neat to see.
I really haven't either, honestly. Conventional wisdom is that gradients are just terrible graphic design. You should never use them.
Yeah,
But for this particular graphic effect, it just kind of struck me like, oh, I could probably build this with a gradient, right? And I think this is working pretty well.
yeah, agreed.
There's a request to center it though.
Right, I think that's the one thing we need. Should I try text center and see if it works?
Let's try it.
Okay. Let's try it here. No. Which I guess would make sense because this is,
Oh no, so it's not the problem of the children inside of it, but that div itself has.
right.
So
Do we need a container?
I think we're good. So take off the text center class, but in
Yeah.
the element.style, can you just try adding margin auto?
Oh, good call. Good call.
Okay. So, there's different ways you can center things based on if they're block level elements or inline elements. Text align center can center inline elements in a container. Margin auto can center a block level element itself. Basically what it does is it sets the left and right margins to be the same, which is going to put it in the middle of its container.
Let's see, and that goes on the container. And I'm gonna do a page refresh to make sure I haven't missed anything.
The overlay container is not nested inside anything, is that right?
Correct.
It is nested inside,
Or sorry.
or wait. Okay, yeah, we have that div container that we made a while back. Actually, I'll do a quick review of the overall structure because this is like a classic structure. We sort of have, well, I'll skip over the nav bar and stuff. Mainly, we have a container fluid. And then here, inside that, we have like this text section. And then we added another container because essentially we wanted to add more padding on both the left and right, which is often called like the gutter. And we did some rows and stuff in here. And our marquee is still inside that container, which just gives it, I think, a little padding on the left and right. But it's also nice because everything is kind of inside there. And then if you need to like all of these parts of the page, should sort of have a relation. Like we don't want one part suddenly being super wide. And so that they're all in this second container, it gives us a little bit of control. That was a little bit of a digression, I apologize.
No, I appreciated you going over the structure still. So if you wanted to add the text shadow property that they have, does that go on the marquee elements or the spans, I guess? It would.
If I'm understanding your question, you mean
The box
how-
shadow thing? It looks
I
like
believe the
that.
box shadow would go on each span. Does that vibe with your thoughts, Raphael?
Did you say text shadow or box shadow?
Box.
I think they have a box shadow.
Because those are two different properties. I'm sorry, what did you want to have the shadow on it?
Well, I guess maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. I thought that the site had a box shadow. So I was just wondering, would that go on the individual spans or where does that go?
We're looking at just all these little like
Yeah,
button things having their own shadows.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I guess the marquee item should have a box shadow on it.
The marquee or the span?
same, the marquee item is the
I'm not
class name.
challenging you, I'm asking, I don't know which one.
Yeah, here, you know what, let me grab it. Because
Is it possible that it's not a box shadow and the background is just gray? Because it kind of looks like it just is the nav bar is white and then the rest is kind of gray.
I was thinking about that, Dalton, that's a good question. Just looking at it in the inspector just now, grabbing this scan right here, we can see that there's a box shadow down here.
Okay.
So that tells me that most likely they are using box shadow. And I have, oh, I see.
You're just missing an ending parentheses after your 10%.
Yep. So yeah, Alicia, Raphael was referring to the marquee item class because that's like the class that we're using for each span. So you both were kind of talking about the same thing in different ways.
Okay.
And it's like, if this was React, this would be a component. So that's sort of like the conceptual name, though it doesn't seem to be showing up, but I could have grabbed something the wrong way.
I need to
sorry.
talk about that for a second.
What, Raphael?
While you're figuring that out, Zach, you've had your hand up for a little while.
Yes, I just want to let you know there was a CSS property called mask image.
What's that about?
What does that do? Yeah.
That lets you declare either like an SVG to create your mask or a linear gradient. I posted a link in chat.
Thank you. I'll take a look at the link because I'm actually not familiar with that CSS property. CSS has gotten pretty amazing. It has a lot of animation now. You know what? The box shadow, I think, is working. It's just really subtle. It's hard for me to tell. And unless you want to work on it more, Raphael, it might be good to keep moving. And I also have a meeting with, as part of my onboarding at 3 in a couple minutes.
I feel like we could get the box shadow working, but maybe we should move on for now. Maybe the last thing, if we can just get a couple more marquees going in opposite directions, just to complete this effect. I think that would be a nice place to wrap up here.
Yeah, I think the box shadow's there. I just need to increase. I just think the effect needs to be increased because of other subtle page differences. But I agree, we should move forward. And let me, actually, before we do anything, this isn't connected to a repo. We can, when we transition, Raphael, if you want, I can be sure to push it up to a repo real quick so that everyone has access to it to continue. Yeah, what would you like to tackle next?
So can you just copy the marquee a couple times, but get them going in alternating directions?
Yeah,
Just for funsies.
absolutely. And how do I have them go in alternating directions?
So the marquee tag takes some attributes. I think it's direction is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, you can set direction equals left.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, let's grab a couple of these. Maybe 4. 4 sounds good.
think you did right twice in a row.
Yep, I was just getting confused about that. Thank you. Left, right, left. 1, 2, 3, 4. What the heck? Yeah, we'll keep it 4. All right, and let me make sure I've got that div and that div. So we should be correct.
Looks like your CSS file was unsaved.
Thank you.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
I would have preferred to do maybe right, left, but I think I probably didn't save the box shadow or something. Something changed. I'm not sure what, but everything here looks about the same.
I think it's pretty cool.
Can you
Yeah,
go
that's
where
actually
you
really
edited that stuff?
Sorry, Alicia.
Okay. Before, never mind.
Was there a question about the structure of something?
Well, before it almost looked like they were starting at different points, but I guess they're not.
Yeah, the marquee. The marquee is just the marquee. Raphael, should we add in the next section if we can?
Yeah, we could do that. I think I've built all the really cool stuff that I want to make sure we get to, and I know you've got a meeting coming up pretty soon. So, I mean, we could break here. A lot of the stuff I think is going to be similar to what we've done before. You know, these are just 2-column grids like we had before, just images on the right, images on the left.
Yeah, there's a little
more space.
A little more, the step 1 and the discovery. It's like a logical next step, but
and I guess that's kind of like vertically aligned in the middle instead of at the top. So there are some differences.
Yeah, but essentially, for like what we're looking at here is another row with 2 columns, and then here on the left, you know, there may be another nested. We may not even need a nested row with columns because it's divs essentially, but yeah, it's the same concept. I think it'd be a really good exercise for people to build and add on.
Yeah, speaking of that, can you please make sure that we get access to this code? 'Cause
Yeah,
I think if I get time tonight, I'm gonna go and like try and build some of these stuff by myself and see where I get stuck and then compare it to your code.
yeah, and why don't I do that right now? Raphael, should I put this in the demo and notes repository?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna do that right now, and I'm just opening up a terminal program because I'm a little more comfortable doing terminal stuff in them. Oh, of course, I'm not on the same laptop I was the other day. So is it github.com/Romeo Platoon, all one word?
That's it.
Awesome. And then we want demos and notes. And I want to clone this.
Did you not already have this cloned?
I'm on a different computer.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm at my new apartment, which is just down the street from my sister's. Long story short, I couldn't get the lock. I didn't get the house keys, so that was why I was running a little late today. Romeo. Awesome. This is week 4, day 5. Is that correct?
That's today.
What do you want to call this?
Bootstrap magic. Magic
Awesome.
bootstrap.
Bootstrap magic. Yeah. And then copy code. I think I called it. You know what? Code, yeah. I'm like over organizing myself to death. Okay, code Romeo, bootstrap demo, star.
I organize my code based on how I feel that day within subcategories.
No, I just this morning, I just made a directory named Romeo for us. So this is great. We've got the index.html. And I'm seeing everything I expect to see. We've got the CSS. I'm seeing everything I expect to see. Okay, awesome. That is up there. And actually, Raphael, should I stop screen sharing and do we want to stop recording?
Yeah, I should probably stop recording now.